Hello folks, welcome to the canal channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how you can replace the brake pads on a 2007 to 2014 Toyota FJ 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. This is for a front brake pad. So we're going to give you an idea how we do this so that way you don't have to take it to shops and you can do it yourself and save a lot of money. And with that said, let's get started. To start, we're going to turn our wheels so we can work onto the brake pads easier, and we got to turn like we're making a left turn. So we got to expose this. So what we like to do is we like to check our fluid level before we start compressing the pistons back in. And that way, if we don't pay attention to this, this is my overflow and all the oil is going to go everywhere. So if you need to take some oil out, this is a good time to check before you start compressing those pistons. So we're going to compress it a little bit and come up here and check it. We have turned our wheel, so this is exposed towards the outside, and this is the area that we want to work on. So we're going to have to compress 2 pistons and 2 pistons, so it's 4 pistons in total. So if you compress one side and then you go to this other side and try to compress it, this other side is going to decompress itself. So you want to compress all 4 at once, so that way when you you want to open this throat open so you can get these brake pads out and put the new ones in. So now that we compressed both sides by using the brake pad in there before we took everything out, we pushed those brake pads to touch the structure on the caliper, both sides. And now we can go up there and check how our fluid is doing, because if we have enough space, we can work this side, put the brakes on, and then work on the other side. But if we don't have enough space to work in either side, then we have to extract some oil. So now what we do is we take these brake pads out, but before that, we want to check our fluid up there. What we did is we compress them with 2 screwdrivers. We're not changing the rotor, only the brake pads. So we shoved it in and then push against the brake pad, put the tip into the brake pad, not into the rotor. That's why we can compress both sides with 2 screwdrivers, and you do it crossways like this. So right now we compress the passenger side. The oil didn't go up too far. So now we can go in there and replace those brake pads, start pressing the brake again once we put everything back to normal on the passenger side. So that way we can continue working on the driver's side. So to take these brake pads out now, we have to slide these rods outward, 2 of them, one on the top, one on the bottom. But we have to remove one clip and another clip that goes through, and then that secures this bar from sliding in and out. So then this rod goes through the brake to the structure of the caliper. One brake pad goes across to the brake pad and then to the structure of the caliper, and then a clip. So there's the same pattern here. This right here is a spring, so it keeps the brake pads open in case when we're not pressing into the brake pads into the brakes, so that gets the friction off of the rotor, so that way it helps as a spring loaded to open them while we don't press the brake pads. So that one is we're gonna have to put it in there as well. So we're gonna show you how we slide all that out so we can get the brake pads out and put the new ones in. So here's the new brake pads, 2 per side. You can see they're kind of squarish, and then it comes with these rods and these clips to replace the hardware as well. So we're gonna take all that out and put the new brake pads and the hardware. We remove these clips right here. So when you're taking this rod out, probably when you're about just a little bit into pulling it, it's gonna get stuck because there's so much rust and crap build up on this side that the hole is gonna be smaller than what can it fit through. So what you gotta do is you just kind of turn it as you pull in, and that's gonna be helping you to extract the bottom and the top rod. So just be pulling it like this and turn it, and that's gonna help you get rid of that rust as we're pulling out. So now we took those 2 rods out. We gotta remove this tensioner. So what we have to do is we drag it from the bottom out, as you can see, and then we pull this from this brake pad and pull it from the other brake pad. And now we just got the two brake pads that we got to slide out. So now to get these brake pads out of here, what we do is we just grab one and we jiggle it and start dragging it out, just like if it was a BHA or a cassette. Slide it out and pull it out, and then we get the other side and pull it as well. So they just slide in and out like this. And if you see the sheet metals, when you're pulling that out, we want to clean this up and put it on top of the new brake pad. This is going to be a protecting sheet for that new brake pad, so save these. So now here are the brake pads, the new ones. And there's the opening for the outer and inner brake pad. And there's inner and outer brake pad actually. Or there's this guy here. This is the warning sign when their brake pads need to be replaced. When the rotor starts turning and hits this place, it's going to start grinding against it and it's going to give you a warning to replace the brake pads. So this is going to be upwards in the inner side, and this one is going to go in the outer side. Plus we got to install the little sheet metal that goes in the back. So before we install them, we got to clean them up. So now we're gonna put the outer brake pad and we gotta put the sheet metal on top of it like this, and then we slide it right in there. These holes have to be lined up as well. So we slide it in there now. Now we grab the inner brake pad, we put the sheet metal on top of it like this, and then that metal goes upwards, inner, then we start sliding it in there. So now that we're trying to put the inner brake pad, what you're gonna have to do is you're probably gonna have to do and jiggle or wiggle the rotor around a little bit. So with the vibration, it helps slide that brake pad in. And then once you get it in, try to get it as close as line up with the hole so we can start sliding the top rod in. And then that way we can come back and then put the other one in. So you might have to, for the second brake pad, you might have to jiggle the rotor a little bit, see if it moves, so that way it helps you guide it in, because it's pretty crowded in here now. So now we can grab two of the rods and two of the clips and one of these long wires to use on this side. So we want to share that the new hardware or the new rods are longer. They got two holes, but it matches the length. It's just a little longer. So we're going to be using the new rods with the new clips, but we want to expose that if you don't have these or they don't come with this, you can still reuse the old ones. So don't throw them away, don't disregard them, don't damage them when you're taking these out, or the clips, because if these don't come with this, the new brake pads, then you're gonna have to use the old ones. But on our case, we're gonna use the new ones because they come on the kit. So now that we got the first rod going in, we want to line it up to where the brake pad goes through. It goes through the first brake pad with the sheet metal, and then into the second brake pad, and then all the way through the caliper, and then we'll put the clip on. So now that the rod went through, we put the clip right into the hole closer to the structure of the caliper. So now we can put and prepare our second rod, but remember to put the tensioner that goes right in here, the spring or the wire that look like an S or bent, that has to go here, and we're going to show you how to put that in. So now that we have put our tensioner, we slide it through the structure, the sheet metal, the brake pad, and then the wire. This wire goes through here and this other side, and then you slide it all the way to the other side. You go through this wire again, and then through the brake pad, the sheet metal, and then to the structure of the caliper. So now that the rod has gone all the way through, we put the clip into the first hole nearest to the structure. So now we have replaced the passenger side brake pad. So now what we can do is we can step on the pedal so everything goes back to normal, and then we can put the tire back on, and then we can continue on the driver's side. So now we're gonna replace the driver's side brake pads. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna turn our steering towards the right, so this comes out and we can have more access to it. So we do that now. So now before we start taking the hardware off, we gotta compress these pistons back in. So what we're gonna be doing is the same thing we did to the passenger side, we'll be doing to the driver's side. We're gonna have to compress, get the screwdriver between this brake pad and the rotor, and that brake pad and that rotor, and compress both sides at the same time so we can send these brake pads all the way to touching the caliper, and that way we have enough clearance to, when we take these out, put the new ones in. So we do that. Keep in mind the oil up in the reservoir. So now we compress two pistons in. We damaged the old brake pad, but that's okay because we're taking this out. And we're gonna compress these ones in but with one screwdriver and see what happens to these pistons to show you that there might be a pressure contradiction here. So as we saw, these two pistons came out a little bit because these ones contradicted. They got some pressure over here. So we're gonna compress them out with using two screwdrivers. So now that we compress these pistons on this side, what we're gonna be doing is we have to check the fluid level. And this is okay because we are completely compressed on the bottom. So the first time we went to the passenger side, we compressed the pistons back in. And then once we put the brake pads in, we press the pedal and then the fluid dropped. Now that we're doing the driver's side, the fluid came all the way up here, but we're okay still because we don't have to compress anything else now. So we just take those out, put the new brake pads in, press the pedal and see where the liquid drops. So now we have to remove this clip and this other clip right here to slide the rods outwards. Now we pull both rods outwards, the upper one and the lower one. And remember, with the rust, it might be hard. Now what we do is we slide this clip from back down here and we compress it and take it out of the brake pads. So now what we do, we just pulled our brake pads out. And what we did is we damaged it, but it's okay because these are going out. The new ones are coming in. So we're just gonna compare thickness of the old ones with the new ones. Both of these are probably one of the new ones. So they're on there, they're ready to be replaced. So now that we have slated all our hardware and we have this tensioner, brake pads are in there, and now we can put the clips into the first hole closest to the structure on both rods. So we have our new brake pads in there. So we have done is all we have to do is just press the pedal, check the fluid level over here, and then throw the tire back on and put it back to normal. So now what we can do is we have to drag some of that oil out of there because it's overfilled. So that way we can have the system to normal. And that'll be the last thing we can do. So now we have dropped the level to where it requires our normal level. So now we just cover the reservoir back up and we're done with the replacement of these brake pads. And well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful on how to replace the brake pads on a 2007 to 2014 Toyota FJ. And this is for a two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And pretty much all you have to do is lift the truck, get the tire off on one side, work on that side, and then what we did is you don't have to take the caliper off to get those brake pads out. All you have to do is just compress those pistons back in, check your fluid level up there, and then start sliding those, get those clips off, slide those rods out, slide the brake pads, put the new ones in, and then put everything, put the new hardware that came with in. so that way you can have fresh hardware with brake pads. If you need to replace the rotors on this truck or this vehicle, you're gonna have to remove the caliper. But on this case, just for brakes, you don't have to do that. That's the beauty about this system that we like, because all you have to do is just slide those little hardware off so you can slide those brake pads out like you saw. So with that said, folks, for our friends who are watching the video, haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. If you like our video, give us thumbs up, share it, and we'll see you soon with more videos here in the canal, El Chano Jose.